Do I believe in second chances? No, I do not. I do not. I have lots of friends who are in the 50 plus crowd. She said, if you could go back, would you change things? And I said, no, absolutely not. I think I am so much a product of all of those things that happen, good and or bad, that if I really believe that I'm God's workmanship, those are the things that created me for who I am today. And it would be easy for 55-year-old Murray to look back at 35-year-old Murray and say, you know, what were you thinking? But as I understand capacity in people, I understand that 35-year-old Murray had nowhere near the capacity that 55-year-old Murray does, or the vision, or, you know. And so yeah, I wouldn't. So that's why I don't believe in second chances. I think if something comes around again, it's a new chance at something new, and there's growth involved in it that maybe is different than the first time that you faced that whatever. I was born in Peace River. I was the youngest of seven. Um, we were all very close in ages, like there's probably an average of 14 months between each of us throughout that whole thing. So a lot of this I actually don't know the actual facts of. It's interesting because I know pieces of it, and it seems that the people who know the story don't want to talk about it. And so from what I've pieced together, somewhere between 2 and 3, my mom started to wander off. And then eventually she just left. So my dad was there, 7 kids, trying to hold up a job, and he just couldn't do it. So he had one of his cousins load the 7 of us up and drive us from Peace River to Mundare. In Mundare, there's a convent there that has an orphanage. And so we were dropped off there. From there, from what I understand, I went to a foster home, and this is my first memory. At 3 and a half, I remember getting out of a car, walking across the street, up the stairs, in a front door, and being told that this was my new home. And it was just me. My brothers and sisters weren't there. And yeah, so that's my first memory, and it's very clear for me. But it's funny. There's more emotion now than For me, usually it's just facts for me. Like, this is the facts of what happened. But yeah, so that's kind of where I started, and probably maybe 4 or 5 years later, my foster parents found 2 of my brothers, and they came to live with us for a little bit, and so that was interesting. Somewhere between 8 and 10, just after my other brothers had moved in, Christmas time, they said, "Hey, we're gonna go see Dad." I'm like, "Okay." I haven't seen him since 3-ish, and we walked to his place. He lives 6 blocks away, with his new wife. And so, I remember going in there. It's like, "Hey, this is your dad." I'm like, "Oh, hi." And then after being there for a little bit, they're like, "Oh, we're gonna go see Mom." I'm like, "Okay." And we got a ride there. We could have walked, but it was winter, and it was cold. But she lived actually 6 blocks kind of the other way from there. And so I remember, again, going there and seeing her, again, "Hi, this is your mom," and then meeting her new husband, and yeah, such an awkward, weird thing. I remember school, I hated Mother's Day. Like, "Oh, we're gonna do a craft for Mom." I'm like, "Okay." So I got a stepmom, got a foster mom, I got my real mom, but I'm not really sure what I should do, or for who. Should I do this thing? But anyways, so the contact with my mom and dad from then on was probably a couple times a year. They would either phone me on birthday, or I'd see them at Christmas, that kind of thing. So just kind of an awkward, strained relationship. Yeah, I remember we moved again, like grade 9 we moved, and I remember at that point, I really shut down at that point, and I was super quiet. But I remember that was when I first began questioning my value, probably out loud. I think before that, the signs were all there that I didn't believe I had value, but I never consciously thought about it. And so I remember putting a belt around my neck and tightening it and holding it as long as I could. It's a pretty poor way to do it, but just now when I look back, just the idea that I had that I didn't have value and that nobody would really miss me at that point. So I tried that a couple times, and again, like I said, fairly lame attempt, but yeah, I didn't even recognize all the signs of it then. So I think for most of my life, I lived this life where I didn't believe I had any value. And so choices that you make and things that you do when you have value versus when you don't think you have value are way different concepts, way different ideas. So recently, God's been showing this thread of His goodness throughout my whole life. And that's why I said that I would not change anything, despite things that I told you that happened and the things that I haven't told you that happened. I still see His thread of goodness through there. And He's even brought to mind for me people that have made an impact, have made sacrifices for me to be where I am. And as simple as Lauri came home with a hoodie, Detroit Red Wings hoodie. She's like, "Oh, look at this thing, I got clothing exchange." I'm like, "You kidding?" It's like, "Why Detroit?" "Oh, I thought one of you guys liked that." No, your boys, one likes Calgary, he's born in Calgary. One likes New Jersey because he likes Martin Brodeur. They're both red, but no. So I'm looking at this thing and I always wonder why things happen, right? And it dawns on me. I remember my foster dad in the 1930s was playing semi-professional hockey, and the Detroit Red Wings scouted him. And they looked at him and they said, "Wow, you're actually, we're interested in you." But then they found out he was about 26, 27 at the time. And so they said, "You're just too old for us to take into the farm system." I used to always think that was such a ripoff. And then, so I'm having this conversation with God about this thing. And then He just kind of says, you watch enough space shows that you understand the space-time continuum, and if you change one thing, you change everything. And He's like, what would have happened if he would have gone, right, to the Detroit Red Wings? That would have, he would have never met your foster mom. You would have never ended up in this house. You would never be anywhere near where you are. I mean, who knows if you would be alive at this point, right? And so it was like this idea that sacrifices have been made for you to be here. And then he took it to another level when He said, like, who are you to not be excellent based on the lives that were laid down for you? And so he's bumping against this thing. I call it a deserve level, and I think we all have it. I saw it clearly in my brother, who was having trouble. He's living on the streets and having trouble with drugs, and I tried to help him out and got him a job and a car and things, but he just kept self-destructing down to a level that he thought he deserved. And so this was God bumping me against my ceiling, saying, you're doing good, but there's more. There's more.